Hello, you're listening to Sending the Experts with Georgina Durrant. This podcast is all about teaching and supporting children and young people with special educational needs and disabilities, SEND. My name is Georgina Durrant. I'm the host of this podcast brought to you by Twinkl SEND. As a former teacher in SENDCo myself, I wanted to create a platform to share some of the amazing things that my guests are doing to support learners with SEND. So whether you're listening on your commute, tuning in whilst walking your dog, or curled up on the sofa with a nice cup of coffee, thank you so much for joining us. In this special episode, my two guests are here to talk about their newly created pilot for ITV called Playtime, where 6 neurodivergent comedians visit a primary school where they're challenged in the course of one school day to create and perform an original stage play that's based entirely on the ideas of a neurodiverse group of 6 to 8-year-old school children, and many of them are from the school's SEND department, which sounds really exciting. And my guests are Céin McGillicuddy and Andy Kinnear. And Céin is the comedy writer and director behind comedies such as Top Coppers, Sexy Murder and Lawman, as well as the director of the most recent 2 series of the BAFTA-winning Horrible Histories, which my listeners will be excited about. Working across both scripted and unscripted, he was also the showrunner and series director behind the return of cult hit Games Master in 2021, as well as series directing the bold new interview series The Assembly on ITV. And following a late-stage diagnosis for autism, he was inspired to combine his work in comedy on The Assembly to co-create Playtime, which is what they're here to talk about, a brand new, charming comedy entertainment format that champions neurodivergent adults and children, which is now out on ITVX and on YouTube. And we've also got Andy here, and Andy is a freelance comedy editor and writer. I'm feeling the pressure with a podcast because it's an editor, so we may just jump in and say we need to edit that, Georgina, and I'll just ignore him. A 15-year editing career working on BAFTA-winning comedy and entertainment, from Facejacker and Derren Brown through to scripted comedies such as Harry and Paul, Trying Cuckoo, Here We Go, and Smoggy Queens, has established him as one of the most sought-after editors in the industry. His writing partnership with Céin includes cult hit Top Coppers, Sexy Murder and Lawman, and their most recent collaboration, again, which is why they're here, is Playtime. It's brand new, charming comedy, and we're really excited to talk about it. So lovely to meet you both. Thank you so much for joining me.
Nice to meet you.
Hello, thank you for having us.
So let's get started. We know why we're here. Can you tell my listeners and viewers all about Playtime, please? It does sound like such a brilliant concept. So tell me more, how the idea came about, what inspired it, all of that jazz, please.
Yeah, so it came about. When did we first talk? I think it was about probably 6 years ago. Was Andy?
Yeah, it was quite a few years ago. Yeah.
It was a very different form. We had an idea of, wouldn't it be funny to get ideas from children and then try and create a really authentic, glossy, high-end drama, you know, with like esteemed actors and really committed.
No.
And we just love the idea of that, and obviously a lot of the sort of ideas that might come through doing that would be unusual for a typical high-end drama. Obviously, that's a very expensive concept, and so we never really had much luck getting that commissioned for telly. But something fell into place actually when ITV Fresh Cuts came up, and we thought that's something to pitch towards. So ITV Fresh Cuts is a scheme ITV do to support either Black-led or disabled and neurodivergent-led production companies. I had been diagnosed autistic, and so Andy and I chatted about it and said, is there something we should pitch Fresh Cuts that would work? And we were like, what about that idea we talked about, which was actually called Telling Tales? That's what it always been. And we were like, is there something in Telling Tales we could do? But they were budgets for like a half-hour unscripted concept, and they're not huge budgets. And so we were like, how could you make that money work? For this idea, how would you do it? And we're like, well, I guess it would have to be a one-day shoot. And there's been lots of other shows that have been doing very well that are just shot in a day. The Assembly is one that which I direct, which you actually shoot a whole episode in 3 hours.
Wow.
And then you've got, which I'm sure a lot of listeners will have seen, Last One Laughing on Amazon, where they shoot a whole series in a day. Wow. So you think, well, actually, let's be ambitious. What can we do? Well, it would have to be a time challenge where They get ideas from children in the morning, have a short amount of time to put them together, and then do it. And we're like, well, if that's going to be the case, it'd have to be a play, and they have to quickly throw a play together. And it was when we cottoned on to that, we were like, oh well, then the children could watch the play and they see their ideas.
That's brilliant.
And then that all of a sudden was the whole show.
It's done. Just sorry, you planned it. Yeah.
And that was the missing piece.
Yeah.
And so,
once that penny dropped, it was amazing because we were like, then that just became the core of the show. It's that the kids get to see their ideas that they've come up with realized in front of them.
Yeah.
And they get the affirmation and the boost, the self-esteem boost and everything that comes with that in front of all their peers and the whole school, of getting to see these ideas realized. And once we thought of that, we were like, that's it, that's the core, that's the magic of the whole thing.
And there's sort of whole motivation then behind making it relevant for celebrating neurodiversity. We're like, well, it's in comedy actually, and performers generally, it's very prevalent. Neurodiversity. Certainly, more and more people are realizing that. As this kind of wave of new diagnoses are happening, which is, I think, a brilliant thing, because it just means we're all starting to finally understand ourselves.
Yeah, completely.
And so, it can be, or certainly the experience I had is that it can feel a bit lonely. And the more of a sense of community you have, and more the sense of seeing other people going, oh, they're like me, the more comforting it is, which is why representation and inclusion like that on television is so important.
It is, absolutely.
So we're like, why don't we put together a brilliant neurodivergent team of comedians, people that many will recognise, particularly those into comedy and know the comedy scene, and it might have that effect of like, oh, they're neurodivergent. Oh, Carrie Ann Lloyd's got ADHD. Oh, I didn't know that. And have that effect, but then equally celebrate the brilliant ideas and talents of children generally, which is why we have a neurodiverse group. So we haven't specifically said they have to be neurodivergent children, because we don't believe any children should be excluded on something they can't control.
And you likely wouldn't know as well, with the long waiting times for diagnosis. And like you said, you've only recently had a diagnosis. We wouldn't know if they were neurodivergent or not. So it's a group of children of all.
And you want to get away from, I think, this segregation or the categorization like that, when it should be celebrating children. And so we filmed at Oakham Primary School in the Black Country, which is where I grew up in the Midlands, and a lot of the children are from the SEND department, while some are from mainstream education as well. And the beauty in the show is, unless a child mentions it themselves, of which there's only one point in the show where a child does reference their neurodivergence, you just don't know. And that's kind of the beautiful thing about it, really.
Yeah, I love that. And you've worked on projects, quite a few projects that really amplify the voices of neurodivergent individuals. So why, I think we know why it's important, but explain a little bit more why it's so important to you both, sort of personally, probably more so, and professionally as well.
So personally for me, so I have a 8-year-old son who is he's still going through the process of an ADHD diagnosis. He's very close to it, but obviously it takes years.
Yeah, absolutely.
But we're almost there. He's almost at the end. And so obviously personally it means a lot to me. And I think one of the things that's really important with this show for me is I watched it with Max, and so I sat down with my wife and Max. We watched an early cut that from my edit suite at home, and there's a point in the show where one of the children talks about he says how he talks weird, he talks different to others, and he talks weird, and we got to the end, and I was talking through the show with Max, and he said, "Oh, I talk weird, I talk different, just like that boy does," and it opened up a conversation about neurodiversity with Max that we had, but it was a really easy in that we could talk about how he's different and what's special and unique about him, and it really meant a lot to us. And I think hopefully similar things will happen up and down the country when people watch the show, that maybe it is a channel, it is an opportunity to have those conversations with their children that they maybe haven't had yet.
I think TV can be so powerful for that, Andy. Like, I know, like The Traitors, and please don't spoil it because I've not watched the final.
Oh wow,
you've done I'm
well
holding off all news. Like, no one's allowed to tell me at work. It's like, anyway. But yeah, I don't know who's. I should have started our call with that, shouldn't I? And told you that, but I don't know who's won. But anyway, yeah, I heard of a child watching The Traitors, and when Kat explained that she was neurodivergent, they were like, I do that masking all day long, and sort of. I find conversations, not obviously they're not sat like around a round table, but in the classroom they found conversations where you don't know where to put your hand up and all of that sort of thing tricky, like Kat does. And you're right, I think it is so important. It's important having role models in schools, it's important having role models in your family, but seeing TV is so powerful, and I think we forget that, don't we, about how, especially programs that you can watch, not the YouTube channel programs that kids watch by themselves, but programs they can watch all together with their family, I think is a really good talking point to open those conversations, to be there with your child when they have that sort of penny drop moment, like you say, and think actually, and they can then voice those concerns or those thoughts or whatever, and you're there to support them.
100%. And it's that thing, isn't it, of where sometimes the deepest conversations happen when you're both looking at the same thing. You're not looking at each other, you know, like in a car when you're both looking at the road, and you feel more open to talk. And then television does the same thing, doesn't it, where you're both sort of sat looking at the same thing, and you feel like under less pressure to, you know, to talk, but it opens something up in you that you wouldn't normally talk about.
Absolutely.
Hopefully the show can do that.
Although I must say, you know, when you said about car journeys, I think that's so true. Don't you find that you're trying to get a parking space or you're on like a difficult journey, and the kids will just suddenly come out with a question that's like really deep and meaningful that you should have had a really well prepared question for, like the meaning of life or something, and you're not quite ready to answer it. But I completely agree. So I'd love to know more about playtime then. So what were some of the most surprising or joyful moments that happened during filming? I'm always intrigued about stuff like that. Was there anything that really stuck with you when you were filming it?
I mean, it was such a lovely filming day.
I bet.
It was, the children were so lovely. And Keane and I went up with some of the crew ahead of filming to kind of familiarize the children with us and with the process and stuff. And that was really important. We wanted the children to feel comfortable. I remember the night before the shoot feeling in the hotel room thinking, what if the children have no ideas? What if they don't think of anything? We don't have a TV show.
So dependent on children, which would be terrifying.
But we needn't have worried because their ideas were amazing.
More than
enough. So we kind of did a sort of test run with the children in the weeks before, and then we got the comedians to meet them before we started filming. We did film it, but we didn't use it for the show. But we wanted the comedians to feel comfortable with the children, and I think it was all just about getting the kids happy and comfortable with the process. And I think they loved having a TV crew in the school. Like, it was the most exciting thing ever. But just on the topic of like it. On the shoot day itself, I think we felt keen that none of the crew wanted to go home at the end of the day. Everyone had such a warm, lovely day. People were just they were sort of locking the doors, like trying to usher us out, because everyone just kind of wanted to stay there in this warm bubble of like.
Put context for that, I have to say, the typical thing, because shoot days are often long and hard, can be, you know, quite a physical slog. Crew leave. You know, they're like, I'm done. Like anyone who goes to work, I'm finished work, I'm going home. They just go. And so, for the fact that they just were sticking around, I couldn't believe it. Was like, they're all just hanging out chatting. That really shows that the experience is so lovely that no one really wanted to just cut it off.
Yeah. Did you lose any crew members to the teaching profession? Have we got any?
Maybe. Probably. Yeah. You never know. That. Well, it was just so. It was such a special day, and obviously it's a lot of pressure as well. Like, it's all got to come together that one day. Like, our whole show relied on that one day, and a lot of the comedians we hadn't worked with before.
Wow.
Carrie Lloyd, we hadn't even had a conversation with before.
Oh my goodness!
We hadn't even been able to get to have a chat with her. So she arrived in the morning. She's like, "Oh well, nice to meet you guys. So what are we doing?" You know, and so we sort of had to have our sort of briefing call. So it all kind of came together in quite a quick way, really. But they're most of the comedians know each other, so they know each other well from the circuit and stuff. So they all had really good chemistry, and they were able just to go straight in. And then when in terms of who the children were, it was actually the school that selected them.
Okay.
We were very hands off. Like typically in television, with casting, everything's very stringent and everyone's very hands on. But we sort of took the approach that, well, children are children, and all children have something interesting to offer, because the beauty in them as a character is in that lovely window, generally between the ages of 6 and 8, when your cognitive processing has developed enough to be able to construct full sentences and conceive of ideas, but you're not yet socially become self-aware and concerned about image and what people will think of what you're saying in your ideas. And it's this lovely window that I think we should always treasure, where you just get these like unbridled, unfiltered ideas, and they're not worried about what you'll think of them. And we should really and so that's what Playtime is really trying to hone in on, and they all delivered brilliantly.
Oh, fantastic. And did they find the comedians funny? Was there a pressure on the comedians that the kids might not find them funny, but they did?
No, because generally, like it's funny, there's certain things that the comedians do that the children don't find funny at all.
Exactly.
They're very funny to us, to adults.
Yeah.
There's other things they do, they just crack up. They just can't get enough of. Did you find that, Andy?
Oh, absolutely. And I was so the way the format works is they interview the kids in the morning, and they get the ideas for like the characters and the story and the locations and settings. Then the comedians have around about an hour to 90 minutes to write the play. It was from about 2:00 till 3:30, wasn't it, Keane? When the bell rings, and then everyone fills the school hall, and then they had to perform this play. And the thing that I was really impressed by is that the play was actually quite good. I thought it would make no sense, because I heard all the ideas, and
you're thinking, how's that going to work?
I was like, how's this going to work? But obviously these comedians, they're so good, and they do this. Like Carrie Ad Lloyd is she's one of the country's best improvisers, and she's doing she's doing this sort of thing every single day for a living. And so they're so good at creating a narrative and a story from such disparate kind of ideas. But yeah, the play and the things that the kids found funny in the play, you would never have expected as well. But they're so there was a bit where Einel comes out as a character, and he just his first line he says in a silly voice, and it brought the house down. And that was like, oh, that's it. That's how
all you got to do.
Just do a silly voice, and they love it. Yeah,
that's Einel Tomlinson, who many children who watch the show will recognise from Horrible Histories, Horrible Science is in now, and Pickle Storm, which are all shows that I've worked with him on, so I know him very well now. And he's dyslexic, and so he was very he was a dead cert for us. So we got to get Einel in, because he just and he's got such a relaxed style. Like he's not intense as a comedian at all. And as an actor, he's very, very laid back, and so it's really effortless, and he cracks kids up. He just knows what they love, and he absolutely brought the house down. But then we have other cast members. We have Stuart Laws, who is autistic, and he only diagnosed a couple of years ago, so going through a similar sort of process as myself, really. And he does very much make the children laugh still, but he really brings a flavour for the adults that is delicious. It's so, because he's able to perfectly judge what's a joke that is more than appropriate to say in front of children. There's nothing problematic about it, but adults will find really funny.
I love that. I love it when there's like another level to stuff. I like watching programs with the kids when there's jokes for the kids that you can laugh along with, but then there's like a little nudge to the parents that there's something there for them that's funny.
He just kept coming with those, and so he gave us like a wealth of options, in the edit. But then the whole cast was sort of like a heist team, in that they all have like a specialist skill in that way. So that's what those guys bring. But we had Arahan Galeva, who is a brilliant sort of up and coming comedian and an actor. And she's like a musical prodigy. She's incredible. And so she was able to improvise 2 sort of really like full musical songs in the performance of the play.
Oh my goodness!
Highly based on the children's ideas, and they are real earworms as well. Like,
oh my goodness!
Yeah, I'm still singing them now.
Yeah,
do you want to do it for us, Andy? Here's your moment.
Maybe later. We'll see how we.
See how the rest of the podcast
I'll
goes.
treat you to that. Maybe over the credits.
The firm
You have to stay listening. Yeah. We had Beck Hill, who is a brilliant comedian who in her live shows she incorporates a lot of crafts, like where she physically makes all these brilliant like craft-based props, and so she has this incredible craft ability to be able to pull things together really quick. So she kind of took charge of all the prop work, created these incredible props, like all within like sometimes seconds, let alone minutes. And some of them really are interactive, so that they actually can manipulate them during the performance and do something. It was unbelievable. We also, who else do we have?
Chris is the final one we haven't mentioned.
Yes. So Chris Barlow is a puppeteer who I worked with Inel as well on this children's BBC series Pickle Storm.
But he's a brilliant puppeteer. He's done the Muppets in America. He's done Star Wars. He's done some huge things. Yeah.
We really,
and playtime.
And playtime as well. That's the most important thing.
Yes, bigger than Star Wars.
But no, he's he's a brilliant puppet maker as well as puppeteer, and very funny man. And we were really eager to have, because as RuPaul says, everyone loves puppets.
Absolutely.
So, you've got to get puppets in there in some form, and so part of the process is a couple of the children are actually designing a puppet, for the show, and then also designing their character in terms of who the puppet character is.
And they'd love that as well, wouldn't they? I'm just imagining 6-8-year-olds making puppets. I bet they were in their element.
Absolutely. It's lovely.
Wonderful.
Yes. We're just making sure that we've talked about all. Yeah, we have talked about all the cast.
You're just checking you don't have someone out,
you'll
be in trouble. That's always the danger, isn't it? When you've got more than one, someone will be listening and be like, "Well, you forgot."
When there's 6 of them as well, you do have to go. Hang on, have I
count them? Check. Yeah, we're there.
Absolutely. But they're all absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, no, fabulous. And this is airing during Disability History Month, isn't it? Which I presume that's on purpose, which is great. And how are you hoping it will sort of contribute to wider conversations about inclusion and visibility?
Well, it's sort of making the show has actually been part of like a process for me, really, in kind of coming to terms with my own diagnosis, and it's sort of really helped with that, and that sense of community, of like a neurodivergent community being out there, is really important for people to be aware of, so they don't feel alone. And that's for people that are neurodivergent, adults and children, but also parents of children that are neurodivergent, which I imagine, so it's not my personal situation, but I imagine can bring a lot of challenges. And the more like mass media representation there is of that, and showing that there's other people out there experiencing the same things, going through the same things, just the more sort of strength in numbers you feel. I think that's really important. I mean, innately, like from a basic human psychology levels, we were all meant to be in tribes. We were all meant to, we're meant to have community. We're built to have community. And as the world has gone on and technology has advanced, it's actually made us more isolated. And so we all now just live in our own little houses with our brick walls and our security systems, keeping everybody else out. When before we used to all just kind of live together and everyone supported each other. And so the only way to kind of rebalance that is to use the technology that's sort of separated us to kind of bring us together, and to remind us that there's other people out there that you can relate to and that you can talk with and draw inspiration from and support from.
I love that. And it's also for like siblings as well, isn't it? Of neurodivergent, like brothers or sisters, or if they've got a friend, or just like to understand it a little bit more. I think the more we talk about differences in people and strengths as well as challenges they may face, it's really important so then everybody understands. And you'd be thinking, in a class you've got a child who's next to somebody who might be autistic, and then they might have a little bit more understanding from watching your program, which is fantastic, and they can support their friend. And it just becomes and kids are great at doing this, aren't they, at like sticking up for each other and supporting each other and understanding and not so I think it's a really positive thing. Yes. And I'd love to talk as well about the assembly. So I know when I've told my colleagues that I'm interviewing you guys, they were very excited because they knew about the assembly and they'd watched it. So I think it was just you, wasn't it, Céin, who's worked on that one, and that was another fantastic project. Can you tell our listeners who might not have watched it about that one and how Playtime sort of builds on that or differs from it?
Yeah, of course. So the assembly is a project that I direct. So that's made by a brilliant company called Rocketdale Studios. Really excellent producers there who have created that show. But it's based on a French format. So it was initially made in France, and it's gone all around the world now brilliantly. Like, thankfully, it's something that has been doing really well all over the world, which I think is really because it's about human connection. And obviously neurodivergence is very much at the heart of it. For those that haven't seen the assembly, what have you been watching? Come on. No, it's an interview format where around about 30 neurodivergent, autistic, learning disabled people, adults, interview a well-known public figure or celebrity.
Yeah.
And I directed the ITV series, which there was the first series had 4 episodes, where we interviewed Danny Dyer, Jade Thirlwell, Gary Lineker, and David Tennant.
Amazing.
And they're all fantastic guests, and it's really exciting because the nature of the show is that anything goes, and it truly is. That's not a spin. That is how it works. The producers do chat to the journalists about their questions, like, what do you want to ask, so they have a rough idea, but they're never told what to ask. They completely decide themselves and tell the producer what they want to ask, and then on the day, most of the time, they totally throw those out and they ask something else entirely, which we have no idea. And so
throw a curveball in.
Yeah, so it is a real wild ride of a show. As in for you to direct, because I'm trying to cover what is at least about 31 with the guest people, but with about 6 or 7 cameras. But you're trying to capture all these beautiful reactions and sudden surprising moments. Somebody gets up and does something, starts a dance off or something, and you didn't know that was coming. So so it's a really exciting show to make, and when you watch it, it's such a joyful, heartwarming watch. That it's really sad that only lasts half an hour on telly, or 22 minutes with the ad break. But when you get to do it in the room, it's such a privilege because you get 3 hours of that, and it's all live and it's right in front of you. Even though bizarrely I'm still technically watching it on telly, just with lots of different pictures, even though it's only happening. And so in making that, for myself, that was kind of the final piece of the puzzle. I had been on a waiting list for some time because my wife had been the one encouraging me to ask the question, of myself, because of a lot of things that presented more clearly at home. And she felt like if I knew, it would make things easier for me and for her and our relationship. But then I spoke to a lot of people I work with, and friends that are colleagues, and it turns out it presented perfectly fine at work as well. And
big time.
You don't have to agree so quickly, Andy.
Straight in there with Andy.
But I did have those conversations where I'd ask people, or friends that I'd work with, say, have you ever thought I'm autistic? And the reaction would be like, well, yeah. What? Like they assumed I thought that or knew that too. And as somebody put it to me recently, you're always the last one to know yourself. Like everybody else seems to know before you. And so I had been looking for that, but then and questioning it, not sure myself, going, well, maybe, and obviously it's a difficult thing as a late stage thing to come to terms with, because it's a shift in identity, and I think that's one of the hardest processes when you're post 40, is changing your identity. You feel like you know what it is now, and there's comfort in that, and then you suddenly have to reshift it. So doing the assembly meant I was suddenly surrounded by a lot of neurodivergent people, both the cast that are on the show, but also people making it, because a majority of the team that make the show are neurodivergent. So I was suddenly surrounded by people that I recognised as kin. There was just so much similarities, and like obviously everyone's different, and all neurodivergences are different. Like all neurotypical people are different. We all have, no one is the same, but you notice things, you share things. I have an obsession with the year that things happened. Like I just know the year that things happened all the time. I've often told Andy's gone, like he once said, what year did I go freelance as an editor? I was like,
you know exactly when.
Yeah. And he was like, how do you know I went freelance 2009? Why do you know that? And I don't, that is like stalker level. And I was like, I just remember.
I'm not sure whether that's your neurodiversity or just your obsession with me.
Maybe it's it is
you could be the interest.
Total obsession. But like I would recognise that as a one particular cast member on the assembly, Jacob, who always refers to things in terms of what year it happened. So he asked David Tennant, he said, he starts asking questions. He says, when you started as Doctor Who in 2005? And I was at the monitor going, yeah, that's correct.
Like,
but I'm not a Doctor Who fan. So why do I know that? But I did, and so it's this, and that's just a small thing. But, but it's one of the funnier, more lighthearted.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I should tell a good job. But it's stuff like that. It's really, I think it's really cool, isn't it? And I think more that we share stuff like that is really important. A member of my family, he's no longer with us, unfortunately, but he used to, whenever I'd go around, he'd say he was really interested in numbers, like really fast, similar to you, but not necessarily dates, numbers. So when I'd been teaching, I'd come back and I'd have a chat with him, and he'd be like, so how many children have you taught today then? And I'd be like, well, I've had 5 lessons, I had 30 in this one, and he'd be adding them all up and say, oh, so you've taught that many children today. And he'd be like, in a stadium then that would be a proportion of this. And he was just always thinking in numbers, and it was fascinating. I find it so interesting how people just work in a different way to how I do, because I'm not like that at all with numbers. And it would be the same. You'd go to like any event and you'd be like, well, what was the capacity in the stadium? How many people would you think were there? And and I love it when kids think in different ways like that, and can remember amazing things, like can remember a conversation from like reception and they're now in year 6, and you're like, how have they remembered that conversation? I can't work like that. It's just real strengths, isn't it?
About numbers, so that and how they relate to numbers, that genuinely gave me this beautiful piece, because I completely get that.
Really?
Yeah, because I love numbers.
Really?
I love maths, really.
Yeah.
It's one of those things, I love it more than I'm good at it. Like I'm okay at it. I would never have been a mathematician, because I need a creative outlet too much. That's my lifeblood. But I do love numbers. I love the certainty of numbers.
Yeah, exactly that.
They're never changing. I had this discussion with my niece recently, where she was comparing maths and English, and she was saying how so basically I said I love maths because it's certain and it's never changing. Like maths is always consistent, and we just discover more about maths. And she was like, yeah, consistent like English. And I was like, no, that's language, so that's evolving, and that's based in culture. And she was like, well, maths is as well. I was like, no, it's not. Like, maths is science. Maths is like, it's locked in. And so like we had this heated debate for probably about half an hour, that while my wife was just there waiting for us to start watching Traitors.
Don't mention Traitors. Stop it. No mention.
Don't worry. It was an earlier episode, way before this happened in the final. We'll say.
But you say that about the numbers thing and the English. Now that's really interesting for me, because I find maths. I'm good at maths on paper, but I do find it quite stressful. And the reason I find it quite stressful is it is right or wrong, and there's no way I can worm my way out of it. Whereas with English, I feel like there's little ways, like it's sort of right, it's sort of wrong. I can sort of talk my
bend
way
the
out of
rules.
things. Yeah, bend the rules a little bit.
Mm.
Whereas maths, I feel like I have no freedom. I've either got it wrong and I'll be hugely embarrassed, or I've got it right and I'll be really happy. And I don't like the black and white of that, but I appreciate for some people.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, I
super
find that sort of
interesting.
almost comforting and I think that's a neurodivergence thing potentially is, like in a world where there's so much uncertainty,
Yeah,
like anything where that provides certainty is comforting. And so I find that in maths, I find that in structure, in routine,
yeah,
um, and uh, and so, like for example, this blows Andy's mind, especially the breakfast it is. But I've had the same breakfast for 7.5 years religiously every morning,
yeah.
which Andy calls my dusty breakfast because it's basically oats,
Yeah.
protein powder, and cinnamon, like ground cinnamon. So it's just a series of dust with almond milk put on
I was
the
just
top.
going to say, surely there's some sort of milk
Yeah, it's
involved there.
yeah.
Barely,
It's
barely.
very dry.
It would be tough
Yeah.
without some
But no
kind of milk.
judgment at all.
That would be a challenge. That would have to be a sponsored challenge, I think. But no, yeah, and I love it. It's delicious, and significantly, I always make tomorrow's breakfast every morning.
Yeah,
Put it in the freezer
yeah.
24 hours, and I take the one out that I made 24 hours before to eat that morning, so it's extra cold. And it's
Wow.
lovely, and
But it's that
I never get sick of it.
consistency, is it? And it's
Yeah,
that consistency and
love
knowing
it.
how your day's going to start the same way that makes it presumably easier. And we find that with kids as well, like autistic kids are, they having a routine, not for everyone, but for lots of autistic children, having that sort of morning routine that's consistent can set them off on a good day because they know what to expect. It makes complete
absolutely,
sense, doesn't it?
Yeah, 100%.
I'm conscious that I didn't fully answer, which is probably
Sorry, I jumped in.
there's the ASD brain going as well. I didn't fully answer your question before about the connection from the assembly into playtime.
Yes, I started talking about other things. Sorry.
No, it's fine. Yeah, just to explain that really was, I guess, the experience of the assembly helped influence a certain approach that directorially in particular, like that I wanted to take with playtime. And that's in the being very hands-off, like, the assembly is led by the cast, and we wanted this to be led by the cast, both the adults and the children, so that's why we are at complete mercy of whatever the children come up with. Like, we do not control their ideas at all. None of that is produced in any form. It is whatever comes out their mouths on the day, and that's exciting. That's like, it's like surfing. You're riding a wave. You can learn how to surf. You can learn all the skills, but ultimately the wave will do what the wave does, and you have to just find a way to ride it. And that's the children's ideas was that wave for us. And so that's the way it's been. The way we filmed it. That's the way we approached it. Is just very observant. I don't direct the children. We don't steer them, and it's lovely just to see what happens, when you do that. And we got the Gabby Norland is our brilliant director of photography, who I work with on the assembly. So she shot both programs, and so you probably will feel a certain, I don't know, there's a charm and an honest human connection kind of focus that you'll feel across both shows.
Yeah,
Love that. And I think you're going to get lots of teachers who are listening to this thinking they want to watch this, because I think that's the beauty of teaching as well. Similar sort of thing. You're directing the lesson. You're sort of planning the lesson. You've got your ideas for how it's going to go. But as soon as you walk into the classroom, face of 30 kids, all who want to do something slightly different or come up with some ideas and stuff, and you've got to roll with it, and you've got to go along with what's happening and what they come up with, and curveballs happen. I had one lesson once where a bird flew into my lesson and went under a cabinet, and I had to rescue it, and we were actually learning about animals during that lesson, so it was a cool moment, but it was a massive curveball. And you can imagine the kids weren't that settled after that, so all these environmental things that impact on it as well as the children, and you just got to roll with it, haven't you? And I think it's quite relatable, I imagine.
It's lovely. That's life, isn't it? That is the kind of that's the nature of life. You can make your best laid plans, but you never know what's coming. You never know what's coming around the corner, and the only thing that's certain is that nothing's certain.
Yeah.
I've got huge respect for you for that job, because I can't imagine how you do it. Planning something with an 8-year-old who then changes his mind is hard enough, but I can't imagine 30 of them all kind of wanting to do different things. Yeah.
No, I think our listeners will appreciate that. Thank you, Andy. So finally, before you have to go, I've really enjoyed this conversation. I'm trying to eke out the podcast even longer than I am supposed to. But anyway, final question.
Who
what
won the Traitors?
Yeah, no, stop it. No, we've done so well. I've still got until the end of the day until I can watch it. I promised my kids I'm going to watch it with them. I'm hoping they don't find out at school today as well.
God, and that's the danger. They could just say that.
I know, because one of them said, I'm going to speak to my friends and say I haven't watched The Traitors, so don't tell me. I was like, I think as soon as you say that, they're going to be straight in there and tell you.
That is risky.
Like, here's a big red button.
Exactly. Don't press this.
So we'll see, and then they're going to tell me, aren't they? We'll see what happens. Anyway, I was going to ask, what are your hopes for Playtime? What are you hoping people will take away from it?
What do you say, Andy?
Yeah, I mean, our hopes is that as many people watch it as possible, and it'd be really nice if, like we talked about, it helps affect people in some way or make some sort of positive change in their lives. That would be, incredibly rewarding for us. But also, it doesn't have to be that big. It can just be an enjoyable watch. Like, I think it's a really lovely, charming watch, and it's family friendly. You can watch it with your children, and they'll get different things out of it that parents will. I think the kids will love the play element of it. I think they'll still find that funny at home, and I think the parents will find the whole warmth and the charm of the interactions with the children really lovely. And I think life is very stressful and hard, and there's lots of very serious things going on, and I think the sort of telly that me and Keane want to make is something that just feels like a nice warm hug, a nice warm bath at the end of the day, and you can just sort of detox from everything else that's happening outside those sort of four walls, and that's the telly that we love making. And so hopefully we've sort of achieved that with this. I think people will get that feeling, I imagine,
and we sort of hope that if people enjoy it, that we get to make more and offer this experience to more children all over the country. The mission, take a tour of it. Like the mission of Playtime is to listen to children that aren't often enough heard. And that's really at the heart of it. This one was in the Black Country in the West Midlands, but we'd like to take it all over the UK. And experience beautiful local accents on children all over the place, which is only charming. A local accent on a child is always nice, no matter what the accent. I don't know why. It's just
it is. You're right.
And viewing figures really do make a difference, actually. Like television does work now on figures, really, and so the more people watch it, the more chance we'll get of ITV commissioning a series and us getting to make more.
And that's Andy telling you all to go and listen then. Sorry.
Yes, please.
All of you go and watch it.
And because it's on YouTube as well, obviously you can comment on there. And you might think, well, no one's going to read this. Everyone will read it. The commissioners, the channel will read it. And so if you like it, literally, like, taking a couple of minutes to write a positive, warm comment about what it meant to you or how much you enjoyed it could honestly make the difference to it getting a series. So actually you could be responsible for that.
Wow.
If you don't like it, email Keane.
If you don't like it, email me or picture emailing me, but maybe don't bother.
Write the email, delete the email, close your
delete the email, carry on.
Have a cup of tea.
I love that. I was just thinking as well, as it's on YouTube, is it a good program as well for teachers to be watching in their lessons with their kids, to show the kids? Because I'm, with drama and that side of things, kids love making plays, don't they? I spent a whole Christmas last year watching children from my children plus their cousins creating loads of different plays for us constantly all day. Which is great. But I'm just thinking, like, for teachers, that it might be a really lovely one to put on for assembly or on the big whiteboard or
I think so.
Look, it's appropriate for everyone to watch. Like, we've made it, for a family audience. It's for everybody. And it may, I don't know, hopefully it'll inspire some activities, within the school, like doing their own playtime, type thing, perhaps where the teachers have to put on the play. Hey, I've said it now.
Yeah.
I've said it now. Oops.
That'd be hilarious.
Yeah.
No, that sounds brilliant. Or you'll get kids at playtime acting out playtime, won't you?
Yeah.
During their playtimes. Yeah, I've said playtime far too many times.
A lot. You said it plenty. That's good.
Plenty. Have I said the word enough?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's all subliminal.
I know what I'm doing here, Andy. Oh, thank you so much. You've both been wonderful guests. I've really enjoyed it, and thank you for not spoiling Traitors. Really appreciate it.
Pleasure.
Thank you. You're very welcome.